if I could sum up South Africa and the context for you in 2 sentences, the first one I would tell you would be that we are in a very difficult space. We're growing at sub-trend. We're not growing the way we should. But the second sentence, and this would probably surprise a lot of you out there, would be that it's not as bad as some people would have you believe. And the fact that you're all sitting here, you're entrepreneurs, means that you're out there, you're seeing opportunities in the market, certain niches that you'll be able to exploit, and that's what creates jobs. That's what we should be aiming towards, and that's why I'm honored to be in your presence, because an unverified statistic, but roughly around 65% of jobs are created by small businesses.
I'd like to ask Mark to touch on perhaps bringing it a little bit home for the smaller guys, the entrepreneurs that are here who run their businesses, to the extent of what does this all mean. We've heard what the rand is likely to do, how it links to inflation and interest rates, and what it means to us. What should I be doing? So if I have a business that is exposed to the consumer, where I'm selling goods and services, and you talk about the maize price like you do, and you talk about the impact on food prices, what does that mean? How should I be behaving? If I have a business that's importing stuff, or I've got clients that are exposed to the rand, how then should I be behaving?
Question I get asked a lot at Finweek is, from business owners, when are we going to get back to normal? And we often go back and we say, but there is no normal. The normal that we've been used to since 1994 through 2008 has gone. And, I really appreciate Mohammed coming up here and putting out the facts in terms of consumers. Consumers in South Africa are very weak at the moment, and it's been a theme that we've been trying to hammer home quite consistently. There's a structural thing happening in our workforce that automation is coming in. We've lived on this habit of growth for so long, especially in South Africa, 1994 through 2008. We kind of lived in a dream world where things really just went right for us. We couldn't do anything wrong. And suddenly we're catching up to the rest of the world where, this is not a pretty place to be, especially if you're at that low end of the consumer market. I think that the reason I love the Mystartup setup is that it's putting us into a position where startups are going to be important. They are going to be incredibly important going forward. Guys are not going to get corporate jobs. There is no corporate security. I've worked for Naspers, Media 24. We had 3 buildings here in Sandton 4 years ago. We're now down to 1. Consolidation is happening wherever you look. And I think that we have this next generation that's coming through. We need the entrepreneurs to be out there, and we need the entrepreneurs to take some of the risks, because I know we sit in a lot of the corporate meetings where budgets are there, and if you miss your target by 2.5%, well then let's drop 1,700 jobs just to make it match up. If we live in this lackadaisical environment where we believe that corporates are going to supply us, they're not going to supply us anymore. We need this disruptive element that the startups are going to provide for us. So I think if I could, leave one message tonight, it's we got to go out there and take a bit of risk, because nobody else seems to be taking any risk in terms of entrepreneurship culture in South Africa. And I think we need to walk away and say, well, can we do something a little bit different? Because if we carry on with what we're doing, we're going to be satisfied with 2.5% growth, and it's not going to sustain us, and it's not going to be the people. Well, you can see it in your own social circles. Try and find your friends, your family, trying to find jobs at the moment. That cultural environment of being able to go into a corporate is no longer there.
My comment is really in line with what the government is doing. Those things about the grants and the tax rebates are great for small businesses. On the other hand, I think the government is giving on one hand and taking on the other, because when it comes to tendering for big projects like what you're talking about, the PRASA, the contractual tenders, they want you to have 3 years of audited financial statements and insurance to almost the value of the contract itself, which are very high barriers to entry for small players. And that is where you find that the sustainable income for entrepreneurs and sustainable, growth, where you're not looking at your spaza shop survivalist mode kind of business. You want to play in the big league, but you can't exactly get into it because of those things.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have been trading for the past 3 years. What it says is that I've been issued with, remember, the first requirement that you need, the first hurdle that you need to go past is a tax clearance certificate. So in order for you to get the tax clearance certificate, you need to have submitted returns to SARS. Now, what speaks to that is your income. So, the audited financial statements. Remember, an auditor sits in a position where they cannot give information that has been manipulated or so on and so forth.
The first, I don't know if it's a comment or a question, but sure, the government wants to incentivize employing young people, but what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Does that mean that, you know, we are again, you know, replacing experience with non-experience? Or, you know, why aren't we incentivizing experience transfer? You know, and I don't think that's really happening. Because it means then the businesses are gonna fail. You know, you're replacing good with bad. The other one is because I am in the financial services sector. You know, there's so much regulation. There's so much. You know, I can't concentrate on keeping my business doors open. From a perspective of growing my business, while I'm concentrating on trying to get my doors open because, you know, I must comply. Luckily, my wife is a compliance officer, and but the problem though is that, you know, it's moving so fast. I believe next year they're introducing new legislation, 2 more legislation. I mean, when does it stop? You know, yes, you know, there's opportunity as well, which we've noticed that, you know, there's a serious lack in you know, the KI sector and so on, which, you know, opens up doors for us. But the problem is, how do I keep my doors open when they keep adding on more legislation, Eventually, I'm gonna be like, you know what? Fine, let me not comply. You know, so because at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is, as well, the last comment is, I'm a small business, so, you know, compared to the old mutuals and the so ons, why am I getting charged the same fees as them? They can afford a whole lot of you know, fees. I can afford only what I can afford. So you know, those are the kind of things that, you know, that for me are bothering me from that perspective, to say, you know, what are we doing to help small business?
The budget speech never speaks about that. The economy never speaks about the level of fraud and corruption in Africa globally, which may ultimately impact us as entrepreneurs and our general economy.
Technology is your friend. In this respect, specifically around technology-oriented businesses, it's becoming easier to upskill people. Accessibility of information and the ability to upskill people is becoming a lot easier, and that should be a catalyst to business rather than an impediment.
It's a global trend that's happening across the world. We're going through this generation of freelancers. People are businesses unto themselves. And, you know, like, I've got 5 posts open at Finweek at the moment, but I actually just get tired trying to actually fill in all the forms just to go and make an advert to appoint somebody to the position, and I've got to. The HR process within corporates is incredibly difficult. Now I've got a choice. I can either go and fill in all these forms, or I can go and I can find a freelancer who says, all right, I've got an hour in my day, I'm going to go and work for this.
And as a new thing in all of our events, we always feature an entrepreneur that we think has got something interesting or is doing something interesting out there. And tonight we have a very interesting entrepreneur. And before we get going onto the hard stuff, I would like to give him the platform to tell you what he does and also to tell you what he has in store for you. I won't spoil the surprise. I would rather ask him to at least share first his story on who he is, what his business does, and also share with you some of the goodies that he's got in store for you tonight. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we give a round of applause to Mr. Nkululeko Mkhwanazi. The reason why I guess he called it Shamase Wines is because it's Thakazelo Sakwa Mkhwanazi is Shamase. So loosely translated, his clan name is Shamase. So good luck with the business, sir. It's very different. It's one of my personal favorites, I must say. Something unique and something I think is quite scalable. So all the best.
I've got a Sauvignon Blanc on the white side and a Chardonnay. And on the red side, I've got a Syrah Grenache and another blend, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Petit Verdot. So I know some of you guys did have those wines. As we go through this evening, please come and taste, and I'll be very happy to take you through the wines. and also to give you more information on what Shamasa Wines does. It's a very light color, almost see-through. It doesn't have a green or yellow tinge, and it's an unwooded wine. And the most important part when you're tasting wine, I know it looks a bit snobbish, and a lot of people think that, but you basically, what you do in a glass, you want to release the flavors and the aromas. So you basically just give it a swirl. If you can't do that, just put it on the table and just give it a swirl, and basically it just releases the flavors and the aromas of the wine. And once you've done that, you go back and you just give it a sniff, not too close to the glass. And this example of a Sauvignon Blanc, it's got lovely grenadilla flavor, a bit of pear, and you also get like cut grass, that smell that you get on cut grass, and also quite herbaceous. And then the most important part is obviously tasting the wine. And what you always want to do, you want to take a small sip initially just to taste the wine. And once, what you do is you just make the wine go around your mouth and your tongue so that you can pick up the different flavors and sensations on your tongue. And obviously the one thing that you notice, and people that like Sauvignon Blanc, they like it for its lightness, freshness, and that fruit that it has. And it's got lovely acidity.
I've convinced Mark to give away a 6-month digital subscription of Finweek to any of the lucky people who given their cards, and to show that this process has got independence. We're gonna ask Mohammed to pull that card. You can't push it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna pick one up. Read it.
This is Nkululeko Tabani Bengu.